I'm more excited about music now than I've ever been before.
Chord changes are written in bars, but that doesn't mean it has to happen exactly like that.
Music is such a powerful tool for hope and change because it transcends culture, it transcends language. It's the one language that everyone can speak, so it brings people together, and that creates a community, and that creates hope. You know, we really believe that Cape Town is such an exciting place musically. It's an amazing hub of talent, and we've got unique music styles, and but we're a little bit isolated, being at the tip of the African continent.
We have our own South African jazz here, but I think it's really important to be exposed to people from other parts of the world.
So for the Three Continents Jazz Workshop, we invited some top jazz educators from Germany and Mongolia to visit South Africa and to present a 2-day workshop at the South African College of Music at UCT. And they are Professor Claus Reichstaller, who's the head of the jazz department at Munich, and then Martin ZENKER is the professor in bass, also at Munich. And then we've got ENJI ERKHEMBAYAR, who's from Mongolia, and she's linked to the Goethe-Musiklabor in Ulan, Bator. And then from South Africa, we've got Professor CARLO MOMBELLI, who's from WITS University, and that makes it 3 continents.
UCT Jazz was particularly interested in partnering with CTMA on this type of event because it's something that will bring international musicians and lecturers and experts into the College of Music to interact with our students, to interact with our staff, which form great connections. We form great connections with each other, which is what music and jazz is all about.
I think the networking aspect of it is really, really important, and the exposure to different musicians and different ideas.
It's amazing that, you know, from all over the peninsula, all over Cape Town, people are responding and they're all connecting. You know, you've got some really established professional musicians attending. I see UCT students, I see Stellenbosch University students, but I also see community musicians. I see high school kids from township music schools.
The goal is to make this music and make this education accessible for everybody, not just for people who can afford to go to music school, but for everybody with professional ambitions.
Music brings people together.
We also know that globalization is not always a very smooth process, that sometimes there are these frictions, and these frictions are these little windows into different worlds that make us realize where we can grow and where we can learn from each other.
What Martin and Claus are very much focused on, what I could almost call classic jazz, straight ahead jazz. They're very knowledgeable, and it's amazing to have teachers like that, whereas CARLO comes more from a more experimental, you know, let's bend the rules, this is who we are, this is how to express yourself. And ENJI with a Mongolian traditional background, you know, it's amazing to see all these different worlds.
I'm glad more than ever.
I think in general it's important that musicians travel and exchange their cultural heritage, their backgrounds, and their language. Jazz music in particular compares very much to what happens in a conversation. You don't need to rehearse a conversation as long as you speak the same language and as long as you know what you're talking about. And that's what happens in jazz music too. We agree on something that we both know, and we exchange thoughts and ideas. Jazz is all about choices. When you play rock music, it's often like a composition, and you have your fragments that you're supposed to play because they're part of the composition. Whereas in jazz music, you compose in the moment, and so everything you do matters. Every note you play matters.
When you improvise, you are telling your story, like where jazz come from, where do you come from, and why you are playing this song.
I think jazz is one of those genres where there's so many definitions of what it is, and I mean, it's nice to have someone who explains concepts of it so concisely and easily and step by step.
as you know, it's inevitable. We're going to have to teach at some point our students, and I also have a guideline now of what to say, how to teach.
Keep doing your own thing and trust in yourself. That's a very important thing, because when you play music, it's very important that you go back to your own thoughts and your own confidence and everything. To have this confidence that there's only one of you and nobody can touch you somehow. It's not a thing about competition.
I learned that it's very important to practice, because practice makes perfect.
I've learned many things like listening and reading, sight reading.
I really appreciated the way he built from someone who doesn't know anything at all to intermediate and advanced players. Most of the things that he spoke about, they're things that you don't outgrow.
And long song is a sound of how we explain ourselves, and especially the sounds, all sounds come from the nature, and there are some sounds of wind and sounds of river. All the lyrics and all the meaning of songs goes to absolutely connect with life.
I found it really interesting to learn more about long song today. It's not something that I've known about before this, so it's a great opportunity to learn about different music traditions around the world firsthand through someone who's really a practitioner.
Your concert has to be as if you're reading a book. There's a beginning, the opening statement. You take your listeners through the different chapters in the book, and there has to be a finale. When I played that finale, the people felt, yo, what just happened? Or because you've taken them on this journey. The spirit of music is more important than the mathematics of music. All artists that have been around for a long time they've come to a point in a different way. They've found a different way to get there. And if we find out that we don't all have to learn music in the same way, then it gives people a lot of hope that actually they can also have a voice and actually can also be relevant. So my workshop was about trying to find your voice.
Coming to workshops like this and being able to see masters at their craft play their instrument and go and ask them questions afterwards is a luxury that people don't really have.
I know why I'm waiting. I know I have been blue. I prayed each night for someone exactly like you.
The evening was great. It was fantastic, and I think CTMA did an amazing job doing what they did and how they made it all happen.
I think the event was a tremendous success, and I think the takeaway message all around is that music is a universal language and it brings people together.
One of the pillars of Cape Town Music Academy is to have cultural exchange, and I really think tonight we had that par excellence.
It's very important that events like these become sustainable, otherwise there is no real impact. So it's important that if we bring people like Claus from institutions like Munich over, that they form lasting relationships with local institutions like UCT. And this has already happened. There's already talk of a lasting relationship between these two institutions, and talk of student exchanges and all kinds of exciting possibilities. So if we can see that in the future happening, then if it was because of the Three Continents workshop, then we've really achieved our goal.
She made me for someone exactly like you.